Bauer. Thanks, Natalie. We're recording this, so anyone who was not able to join can view this later, but my name is Kelly Bauer. I am an associate director with the Johns Hopkins Urban Health Institute and a faculty at the School of Nursing, and I'm really glad to have you all here today. We're going to talk today about the Baltimore Health Equity Impact Grants. These were formerly called the UHI Small Grants, if that is a more familiar name. We've renamed them to be the Baltimore Health Equity Impact Grants. We're going to go over the grants and provide a little bit of information, and then we're going to have a big chunk of time at the end to answer any questions that you all might have. So I'm joined here today by my colleagues from UHI, and they've got their names labeled with UHI: Nancy Malello, Natalie Wiggins, and Emily Carletto. So we're all going to have an opportunity to share and answer questions, but welcome, and we will get started. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to share actually the website and kind of walk you through where you can find all the information that you need, so that as we talk about what this impact grant is and how you apply, you can also be following along with the online process for doing so. So right here at the Urban Health Institute website, you can find a little more information about the impact grants. And really the purpose of the grants is to encourage and to foster and to support academic community partnerships between faculty, staff, and students, faculty and students at Johns Hopkins University, and great community-based organizations in Baltimore City who are doing important work. So all applicants must be a community academic partnership, so at least a faculty or student from Johns Hopkins and a community-based organization. There are 3 different awards. One is a faculty community research or program development project. That's for $10,000. One is a graduate student community research or program development project. That's for $5,000. And you can see them here in the center box. And one is an undergraduate student community research or program development project. That is for $2,000. So open again to a wide range of different types of students, levels of students, and faculty who are both on the tenure track and non-tenure track at any level. So if you click here on this button that says Submit Proposal, it will take you to a lot more information about the application deadlines. You can see application deadline is November 1st. We'll award by mid-December, and then the earliest start date is January 1st. And the award period is a 1-year award period. So if you need a little more time past January 1st, you can let us know, when you want to start that grant period. So all of the information about the RFP, a request for proposal, and the requirements for the proposal can be found here. I'm actually going to move us into a system called InfoReady to look at these guidelines, because this year is the first year we're really excited to be using an online platform for the submission of these small grants, which we hope will really facilitate the process for you and for our reviewers. And it's called InfoReady. So if you click here on proposals will be accepted via our online form, please fill out the form here and you click. It takes you to InfoReady. And this is, I'm going to let, at the end of the session, I'm going to let my colleagues who are far more savvy than I talk a little bit about InfoReady, but everything that was on that page, the web page before, is also here on InfoReady. All of the description and information about eligibility. So again, you can see here the different types, the 3 different types of awards, the eligibility criteria, and then the requirements for the proposal. You also will find over here on the right-hand side some of the additional supporting documents that you might need They're both embedded within this text, but they're also over here. And one of the things I wanted to share with you before we got into the details of the RFP was this UHI guiding principles for the impact grants. And you can see it right here. Oops, I highlighted too much. Right here. And if you click on that, you can open that document. And what that document looks like is this. And these really are guiding principles to help faculty, students, community partners really think about how to engage in meaningful and mutually respectful partnerships and carry out these Baltimore Health Equity Impact Grants. Because again, a lot of what we're trying to fund is the fostering of this productive and respectful relationship between academics and community. And so you can see here, these are some best practices that I strongly suggest you review prior to writing your proposal and really think about how to demonstrate that the two partners are really engaged in a shared vision and values for this grant, that they're demonstrating mutuality and respect, that there are plans for transparency and communication, shared decision-making, and true commitment. And if you look in this right-hand column, you'll see very specific things that we suggest you do in this context of the Health Equity Impact Grant. So, making sure that each partner is part of co-developing the specific aims and the goals, that you are prioritizing methods that address structural issues that promote social justice, that your budget is allocating funds that support community partners, time, expertise, and input. This isn't just money coming to the academic partner, but that it's co-shared. That if you're engaging Baltimore residents, that there's compensation for those residents. That you have, in terms of transparency and communication, really a plan for ongoing, regular, transparent communication between the two partners. That you have a dissemination plan that's really thoughtful, not just about academic dissemination into scholarly outputs and outlets, but that you also think about how we might disseminate our findings and results back to community or those who are involved in developing the program. So again, you can kind of go down this list, but I suggest that you think a little bit about, these are good guidelines for how you start up a partnership. And also, if you're already in a partnership, it provides you an opportunity to really reflect on and kind of think about how you're currently practicing these best practices and maybe things you could do differently to improve or strengthen that relationship. So we hope you find these helpful. These are simply guides, and they are things that when our reviewers are reviewing the applications, they will specifically be looking for applications that show this sort of mutually respectful partnership between community and Hopkins. And so we're looking for you to be able to indicate that you are carrying out these best practices in the work that you're proposing for this grant. So as we move on to the proposal requirements, I think that they are relatively straightforward. I don't think are too onerous. We worked really hard to make them clear, so if they aren't clear, please let us know, and we want to clarify that. But you start with a cover page, and there's actually a template that has all the information that you need to include. So you just download this cover page and fill out that information. It's a lot of just information about the people who are applying for the grant. You then should have an abstract that briefly summarizes the totality of the project. This should be no more than 200 words, so just a brief summary of the project in its totality. And then a project narrative, again, doesn't exceed 1,800 words. It should go over an introduction, some clear aims, like what are you hoping to accomplish? And I know we've had some questions about the focus of these grants, and I will highlight here that these grants can help to answer research questions that the both partners, the academic partner and the community partner, are interested in answering. Or they can propose to really develop programs that are targeted towards or providing services or outreach to the community. So they can be a research focus or a program focus. But regardless of which they are, they really should focus and highlight the ways in which you're going to, through this work, promote health and health equity in Baltimore City and among Baltimore City residents. And then you're going to go on and talk about your methods. How are you going to actually carry out this research, or how are you going to carry out the development or implementation of this program? And some information about your dissemination plan. How will you share findings or the outcomes, the results of this work, the successes, the lessons learned? And again, I encourage you to think about not only scholarly outlets for this, but also ways to share with community these findings. The next section is about community impact. Again, this is really what I was sort of talking about earlier. You here are going to really specify very clearly how this work will help to promote health, health equity, social justice for Baltimore City residents and neighborhoods, how this partnership or how this grant will really help to enhance this partnership. So how will this grant allow an academic partner and a community partner to work together, to collaborate, to foster either a new partnership or really enhance an existing partnership that will then hopefully move forward and will continue after this grant and will be sustained for future programs and research, again, that will help to improve health equity in Baltimore. So having some focus there on the nature and quality of the partnership. Now I think I'm going to pass to my colleague, Nancy Malello, to talk about the budget, which is in a budget justification, which are here. And Nancy, do you want me to stop sharing screen or?
Nope. Keep sharing. That's great. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad that so many of you took some time out of your busy schedules to attend. I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget. As the RFP states, 50% of the budget must support the expenses for the community-based organization. And that is in line with our principles, as Kelly just talked about. And developing that budget with your community partner is critical and one of the key components of the proposal. And the budget justification is really another opportunity really to allow your story of what you're going to do and how you're going to spend your funds. It gives you another opportunity to really tell the story of what you're going to do in your grants. And I think there's a 600-word limit, yes, on the budget justification. And we do provide, you can see where Kelly was pointing before, is that there is a downloadable template for you to complete. And then we require biosketches to be uploaded, and those can be biosketches or resumes, because oftentimes community partners do not have a biosketch, and a resume is totally acceptable. And we need at a minimum at least the resume and or biosketch for the Hopkins faculty, student or graduate student or student, and the community member. Again, just to highlight that the applications are due by 5 p.m. on November 1st. And so Kelly, I think what we wanted to do is switch over to the login, if you want to go there. And just so that one of the great things about this online application tool is that you and your partner can be working simultaneously on this within the application. And that allows you really to be much more collaborative as you're applying. So you can see where the apply button is, and you can maybe, Kelly, click on apply and show them that screen and how you can register and log. You can log in yourself with your JET ID, and you can also log in if you don't have a JET ID for Hopkins for our community partners.
sorry, so here's the Johns Hopkins University login at the top, and then other users if you're not with Johns Hopkins. Would you like me to log in, Nancy?
Sure, you can just log in and show them that on the, with your JED.
Can you see that?
Yep, that's great.
So then you'll enter all of this information. Again, all of these additional documents remain here on your right-hand window.
And this is the critical part, is for, in general, for the Hopkins person, I think it works better, and they're still working out a few kinks. If the Hopkins person logs in and then gives the community here, you can see highlight, Kelly, the community partner's last name and email. That's the, I think they're, like, as I said, they're still working on a few kinks. So that's the best way to do that. And when we get to the, Natalie, do you want to jump in and clarify something?
Yes. So at the moment, one partner can fill it out, and it's either Hopkins partner or community partner, either of them. So at the moment, only one person will be getting updates. I'm really trying to figure out how to add a co-applicant. So it might be added at a later time, but at the moment, just feel free just to use it this way. So one person will be getting updates.
Thank you, Natalie. We've been trying this out. This is our first time using this. So there are a few little kinks we're still working through. So I think, Kelly, maybe just, do you want to start with seeing if there's any questions?
Yeah, that would be great. So I'll just show, like, so you can see every section of the grant RFP is here, the abstract, the project narrative, the community impact. So all of the sections that we talked about have text boxes for you just to enter right into here.
Yep. And again, don't hesitate to email us with questions, especially because InfoReady is new for us. If you're having any difficulties, chances are other people are having difficulties. So please email us and we'll get right back to you.
Great. And I just stopped sharing so we can see one another better. Feel free to share your video. So if you have a question, you are welcome to raise your hand. You're welcome to type it in the chat. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. We're a small group, and I think any of those options will work. Yeah, Miss Grover or Dr. Grover.
Oh. Almost, not quite. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing. My question is, so I'm a student at another university. My relationship to Hopkins right now is through a fellowship I'm completing. It's called the TO1 program. It's through the Institute for Clinical and Translational Research. So my question is, am I eligible to submit a grant submission for this opportunity? And if not, or if so, would it be possible to partner with another Hopkins graduate student? I've already had another colleague of mine ask if she would be, if I would be interested in collaborating with her on a submission.
So I think the answer to the second question, the second part of that, collaborating with another Hopkins student, is absolutely yes. That could very easily work. The answer to the first, we might just need you to email us the information about your program.
Okay.
If you're a trainee of Hopkins, you know, this certainly is open to postdocs at Hopkins. And I don't know, might need to just look a little bit at the nature of your program, but if it's sort of a postdoc fellowship type program, it may well qualify you for this as well. Nancy or Natalie, do you have other thoughts about that?
Nope, you're spot on. I think Natalie and I talked about this a couple of days ago, that we need to understand a little more about the role your fellowship program. And if you have a JED and you're technically considered a Hopkins trainee, then I would say absolutely. But as Kelly mentioned, that maybe partnering with another student that is officially Hopkins, that might be a better idea as well.
If I'm correct, I believe Joelle Middleton was your advisor. Am I correct?
Correct.
he has received our grant in the past, and this is so we offer this funding opportunity for faculty. There's a limited number of times how each specific faculty can receive it. So he might be able to serve as your advisor, but he cannot be Hopkins partner.
Okay.
But exactly as we said, so we have some information about you. We need to have a little bit more specifically about the grant that you're applying for.
Okay. Alrighty. I will follow up with an email. Thank you.
Perfect. And Natalie, can you just drop the email address in the chat where people could, email any of those questions? That'd be great. All right, good. Other questions? So again, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute or type into the chat box.
Maybe Natalie, can you remind me about the Hopkins faculty person can receive two grants that allow them to be eligible, or was it just one?
Mute. So Hopkins partner can receive one grant of each level. So let's say if we have somebody who was first an graduate student, then is working on their postdoc, so the graduate student, and then later becomes faculty, they can receive a grant of each level. We had instances when one faculty could receive two grants. We're trying to be mindful that not to keep giving to the same faculty all the funds. So it's being determined by the reviewers. So when we just bring it to the reviewers' consideration, and we also, of course, check our budget. If we have option, we're looking into a possibility of funding something like that. At the same time, we are really trying to be responsible and be equitable here ourselves.
Yep. Thanks, Natalie. Do other people have questions that they want to put in the chat?
Right.
Here's one.
Yeah, are there some ways in which Hopkins students, faculty, and community organizations can connect with each other to explore mutual research interests and potential proposal partnerships? Are there venues where community organizations can shop their health equity assessment needs to potential partners at Hopkins? So this is a great question too, Danielle. Thank you for asking that. So as it stands right now, there are not formal avenues for that. I think that, if you have a particular area of interest, we, through our work with UHI, have a lot of connections to various community organizations. We are happy to brainstorm that with you and make those sort of, like email connections, introductions, and are happy to do that informally. I think this is a really important question and something that UHI is looking towards. What are the mechanisms for formalizing that? Because we do understand that, it's great to have this money for partnerships, but sometimes just getting started or identifying either a faculty or student if you're on the community side, or a community-based organization if you're on the university side, that step can be really challenging. So thank you for that question. We are happy to speak with you about that by phone or email. And Natalie or Nancy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that Kelly's right on. We have a lot of community partners that are also interested in looking for Hopkins partners and Hopkins community members. So we're pretty good matchmakers. So again, if you email Natalie, then we'll set up a quick call with you and find out what type of project you're interested in doing and try to find a match for you. And we can do that rather quickly. If you email Natalie and myself, we'll speak with you tomorrow to sort of do that ASAP.
Yeah. And here's a comment from Shan Gordon saying, in the past years, there was a fair-like event where community organizations could meet researchers, students interested in projects. And I think that is correct, Natalie. That does predate me. I think there was some utility to that, and there were a few maybe challenges to that. So that is not currently being held.
Right. And Kelly, there was an IRB question up a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
did
further
see that.
up.
So Joy asked, do we need IRB approval before submission of the grant application? No, you do not prior to submission. You do need IRB approval for the release of funds. So, you know, once you're awarded, you will need to apply for IRB and we'll need that documentation prior to actually distributing the funds, but not prior to submitting the proposal.
And I think Shan
And Daniel
asked, well, Shan asked about if you could talk about the circumstances that an IRB would be required.
Oh, great question. So, so I am not on the IRB, and I certainly have experience with IRB, but I always hesitate to actually make any declarative statements about when an IRB is or is not required. But I think one of the things that we often do with the IRB is submit, even if we are not doing research, we can submit an IRB application that is really an exemption, like it is saying that like the IRB has reviewed this and they agree that this is not research, it's not human subjects research, and therefore it doesn't need IRB approval, but it's gone through their review and they've verified that. And so I'm happy to talk, you know, about specifics if that is helpful. But I think in general, even if your work isn't research, I do suggest speaking with the IRB or going through an expedited IRB review process just to get confirmation from them that they agree that whatever work you're doing is not human subjects research.
So just to build on what Kelly said is I think that's something that the JHU faculty member can bring to the team is their expertise around IRB application. And if you're a student, I believe you need a faculty sort of mentor, and that faculty mentor would also bring that expertise to the table. But again, if you have like specific questions about the IRB, you can email us and we'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. That like that should be something that the university partner. And again, if you're a student, you do have to have a faculty, and there's a separate form for your faculty to just review and sign that they saying that they will in fact serve as a mentor for you in this process, and that the IRB process would be an important part of that. And Natalie provided a little more information in the chat that I want to be sure to say out loud, which is that if your grant is awarded, so if your proposal is awarded the grant, then IRB would need to be initiated within the first 30 days of the project period. So kind of first order of business. Thanks, Natalie.
And Natalie also brought up another point of a question that we received about could we, is the grant renewable? And I think we sort of talked, I think that's what Natalie brought up about we want to fund different people to give them opportunities to use this as a sort of jumping off point to apply for larger grants and to build those academic community partnerships. So technically, no, it's not renewable.
And it looks like Natalie answered Ashley's question that yes, postdocs have the advisor sign off as well.
Yeah.
It is not cumbersome. It is a single page form.
Other questions? Are there folks who submitted a question that we haven't gotten to?
Can one resubmit an application if they don't get selected? So, so Joy, I assume you're asking if you submit this November and you're not awarded in December, can you submit next year? Because has been an ongoing source of funding. Yes, we would love that. That would be wonderful. And yes. Great. Other questions? Do people have specifics that they want to share? Oh, so do you have an example of a past project that has been funded? Great question. So So, yes,
Yes. And if you look on our website, there are
that's
links,
great.
abstracts. There are links to abstracts that were funded. And they're actually, you can click on a link and you can look at the web at their abstract. So that can give you a sense. Oh, thank you, Natalie.
That is,
And it tells you by year. So you can click on 2019, 2018. Go ahead and click on one, Natalie, just to give them a sense. And it tells what the project was, and then it downloads the abstract. So it can give you a sense of other projects that we've funded.
yeah, that's probably, instead of me like trying to off the top of my head, give examples. That's great.
Sorry,
No,
sorry,
and-
Kelly. I was saving you breath.
I appreciate that. And actually we have a great video too. Maybe Natalie could show where we highlighted some of our past recipients from the Baltimore Impact Grant and other UHI grant opportunities. So you could just view that short video as well.
Yes, that's a great idea. And maybe also we could bring up the date for the grant writing workshop.
Oh, yes.
Great. So thanks, Natalie, for showing that video. It's a great
There's
video.
that little video right there. Yep, under funding.
And you asked
yeah,
Joy about what. Go ahead. Do you see Joy's question, Kelly?
Oh, when does the application open every year? So that's also a great question, Joy. And COVID did sort of shift, as it did everything, some of our timing for our grants. And we actually added a COVID grant, which, had obviously never existed before. And so that also shifted some of our timelines. I don't know that we can, Nancy and Natalie, wholeheartedly say exactly when this would be available next year, but I think we're looking at about a year out. So I think, about this time next year is when the next grant cycle would be, that these are annual. And yeah, Nancy mentioned the upcoming grant writing workshop. And so we do host some different capacity building workshops that are really geared towards community-based organizations to help refine skills in various areas. We have a grant writing workshop, a financial management workshop, and a program evaluation workshop. And the grant writing workshop is upcoming. It's actually on October 13th. So it happens prior to the deadline for this RFP. So again, remember November 1st is the deadline for this grant. So it happens a couple weeks prior to that. And we can actually use this RFP as a sample, as a sort of an example structure for how to work through that grant writing process and provide really, hopefully, individualized assistance to folks who are trying to just learn about successful grant writing. So we encourage anyone who's from a community-based organization to register, to share this with colleagues, to register. You don't have to be applying for this UHI Baltimore Health Impact Grant in order to participate, but certainly we encourage those who are applying to take advantage of this opportunity.
And I don't know if it was me, but Kelly went out for just a second on my end at the point where that she said that the workshop is specifically intended for CBOs, community-based organizations, not for Johns Hopkins faculty or students. She came out just a little bit. Sorry if that was a repeat.
Important detail not to miss. Thank you, Nancy. That's why we tag team this.
Yep.
And thank you, Natalie. Dropped that link in the chat also. So if you want to link straight to that page that we were just on to register, you can do that here.
And we're capping it at 30 people so that we can have individualized conversations and breakout groups. And there is space right now. So if you're interested in doing it, please do so soon. So seems like we don't have any other questions unless people are raising their hands or.
Timeline implementation, virtual versus. Do you want to just expand on that question, Natalie? Oh, great question. Is the grant writing workshop virtual? Is that the question, I think? If that is the question, the answer is yes. The grant writing workshop is virtual.
Yes.
Thank you for
And
that.
and if that's the Tina Brown I know, hello Tina Brown. And
Go ahead.
Hi, Nancy. I'm sorry, I'm over here trying to unmute. Hi, Nancy. Hi, everyone.
hello.
Great.
Question that was submitted in advance. I see a person who asked that question is here. So they asked about the project. That's how I understood the question. If virtual versus in-person projects are preferred. You want to come into this? Jump into that.
You want me to try to answer that, Natalie? Yeah. You know, that is a great question about like this is, I think the question is the nature of the research project or program that you're trying to develop, is there a preference for it being virtual or in person? And I would say that if you had asked that question 2 years ago, we would have said, you know, maybe in person, because how do you do really community engaged work if you aren't physically with the community? And I think we have learned a lot and grown a lot in these 2 years, and we have really advanced our sense of how to do all kinds of things in a virtual setting. And so I would say that I don't think that there is any strong preference one way or the other. I just suggest that you provide good rationale for the modality that you choose, and good support for the fact that it can be effective given the modality that you've selected, probably most specifically if you're suggesting a virtual modality, just that it's well supported. But I don't otherwise think that there's a strong preference. Nancy?
Yep, I'd agree with that. Yep.
And certainly we had some great COVID grant applicants. And of course, you know, there were all kinds of different strategies that were employed during COVID and for those COVID grants.
Mm-hmm. And I think we also had to be flexible, just speaking about the COVID grants, is that we were flexible in terms of IRB, that the IRB might take a little bit longer, and that we had to give some extensions here and there because funding, the IRB has to be started within 30 days of award, I believe. So we were flexible because of the environment we're in, and we will continue to really do that as well.
Yeah, our team really is, you know, wants to be here to support really successful applications and also really successful, you know, grants once they're funded. So we are here to support. Well, I am not one who wants to try to keep people in a space beyond the time that they want to be here, beyond the productive nature of that time. I am happy to remain in this virtual space for another 20 minutes, but I do want to just, Nancy, if you have anything to wrap up, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for sharing this time with us. We really look forward to your applications. We're here for questions if you have more.
Yes, thank you. And honestly, thank you to Emily and Natalie, who, you know, there's always people in the background that make things successful and work smoothly. So thank you to both of them. And a lot of work goes into these events, even though it doesn't appear to be. And then for us putting this up in info ready, as this being our first year, Natalie has really become an expert at it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And as Kelly said, you know, our goal is to support these research projects as best we can. And from a faculty perspective, Kelly's an excellent resource. So please reach out to us. And as Natalie said, we look forward to receiving your grant proposals. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And again, I'm happy to sit here if people have, like, you know, sometimes people want to have the conversation after the conversation. So
Right.
happy to stay in the virtual space for anyone who wants that.